Hey guys, what's going on? It is your host, Zoo, and then we also have Shinzo Kenzo online here. We are going to be unpacking the first issue of The Dawn of DC Superman. And of course, we all know that the new 52 has come around and it always changes after the 52 weeks in the year are up. And DC has been doing this since the early 2000s. And we have gotten this, and we've seen a couple of restarts of Superman in different universes and so on. But in this one, it's they're acknowledging the things that have happened in the past 52, and we're going into some of those things as well. And Clark is back. Well, Superman is back from his journey into space.
The comic that you're talking about, the Warworld stuff in Action Comics, was my first time to see him. And,
Okay.
And that's almost the first Superman comic that I read too. So I went through Superman and the Authority, which was the setup for that. Then he went off to Warworld, and now he's back. So what's interesting for me is now I'm finding out about Superman's regular life and the regular characters that appear, because I haven't seen any of that. All the Superman stuff I read was him on a different planet. So all this stuff in this new Superman #1 is pretty fresh for me.
I've read a couple of things about Superman. I've read The Death of Superman as a kid. I've also read a whole bunch of other stuff about Superman as well. I've read the parts of him and Batman being together, which is actually still kind of running at this point still, but it's it's under some new things. The World's Finest, yeah. So, but it was at first it was just it was set up it being called the World's Finest. It was just Superman and Batman and Superman for a while. That's what it was just like. It was just that, and then eventually the World's Finest came in. So. So yeah, let's go ahead and let's unpack this book, because it was actually, I thought it was interesting. It wasn't an amazing first issue, but it wasn't actually, I gotta say, it was a good first issue. It was a good first issue to start us off. So
yeah, I think I'm with you on that one. I didn't love it, but I also, it was good. It was a good starting point, and I definitely want to read more. But it didn't quite hook me yet.
Okay. I think the one thing that I do like about this so far, when I've read the whole thing, the art is some really, 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 really nice art in here. It's not too crazy, but it is fun to see. The lines are nice, the coloring is nice, the action scenes are actually good too. And so every time I read a Superman comic, the problem that I always have is that Superman is just, he's strong, and we know he has a martial art that he knows, and this is it's a Kryptonian martial art, and of course his father and them taught him that in the Fortress of Solitude, but he doesn't really use it because he's fast, he's strong, he has heat vision, he has ice breath or whatever, and so on, and usually he just bam bam boom, but it's kind of predictable with Superman, but also at the same time, it's good to actually see him he's saving people, he's doing all these things, which he usually does.
That's kind of what I like about Superman. When I first got into comics, I felt like I don't want to read Superman because he's going to be fine. He's going to win every time. So I didn't think it was interesting, but that was before I read comics, and now I'm way more into them. It's he's going to be fine, so what's interesting is seeing if he gets really in a bad situation, how is he going to get back to fine this time? Which is really interesting. And also, like you said, he's so strong and powerful, he's going to win almost any fight. So again, interesting for me is not watching him fight people, it's watching him do that to help other people. The part I like about Superman, especially in the Warworld stuff that I just read, was not him beating people up, it was him having a reason and a cause to do that. And it was way more interesting than just punching some people.
Now, I haven't read the Warworld stuff yet, and the thing is that I know that you mentioned to me before is that he was under a red sun, right?
Yeah.
And so he didn't really have his powers. He just had basically his wits and everything with him. So, which is pretty cool because I'm Mongol, and he's really he's just a beastly man or a beastly character. And every time him and Supes gets into a clash, it's a really hard fight for him because he's as hard as I punch him, he punches me 10 times harder, and I'm well, shit. How do you beat something like that? And so And he never. We all know Superman doesn't like to kill or whatever. And he never does. Like not in the sense of like actually like permadeath or something. But when it comes down to like seeing him fight, he has to fight these people who are like a little bit stronger than him, just to see like I think to keep most things interesting. So we've come across Livewire. She's broken out of jail again, of course, which is okay. And so she calls a ruckus. And I gotta say, like, it's like, okay, well, he does it, he saves the day, and he kicks her butt, of course. But the one thing that's going on while this is happening is that, like, you know, he's been talking to someone, and I don't really want to give the reveal, but eventually it's gonna come out. So, but someone is talking to him, and he's kind of distracted. And he tells him to be quiet, and he leaves it be. And he goes about his day. He defeats Livewire. She gets put in jail. And, of course, Lex Luthor appears. But not in the way that you think. So...
Yeah, I thought that was really cool, actually. Because these kind of stories, the main villain goes to prison and then eventually ends up not in prison anymore. Like, it's just always the way. In a lot of DC stuff, like, you've got Arkham there, which is like, you know, people constantly going in and out. So yeah, in this book, Lex Luthor is in jail. He's not out of jail. Yeah, he still manages to be a part of the story, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, I think that's the part that I really do like about this so far, is that he really is a part of this story now. Even though he's not like the main center focus yet, but like even when he's behind bars, he's still a part of the story. But there was an interesting thing inside of the prison that I noticed. These the people or the security guards are wearing Lex Luthor corp armor or whatever.
There was also the guy giving him lunch had like a circlet or something.
Yeah, something around his head.
He looked like Hercules or like a Greek god character or something. Or,
something like Norse or Greek or something. I said the same thing.
Had a circlet on. So I didn't recognize that character. I was wondering if you did, if it was someone.
Maybe it's the hairnet. That's what I was thinking too. I was like,
maybe, possibly.
It could be, right? It could be. So.
We can wait to that if it is.
Right.
So Lex Luthor, when he first appears, his face is kind of exactly the encapsulation of the art style in this, or it's like really angular, like he has really big cheekbones and he's got a really angular face, but it's also somehow really soft looking. Like, it's not jagged. It's really difficult to explain. It's soft and hard looking at the same time, and the colors really help it too. So it does. It's a really cool looking book.
With Livewire, they lean into the whole thing of like her being canceled, like you can't cancel me and stuff like that. I'm like, oh wow, okay, well they're actually bringing like a little bit of the real world stuff into some of these comics, which is actually, I think this is great too, you know, because art imitates life sometimes. So
they really did that in Superman Son of Kal-El, which is again, I know more of Superman from that than actually his own book. There's some really nice stuff in that. It's so lovely. Like that and Nightwing, which Tom Taylor's writing both of those.
Nightwing is still going on, right?
Yes, and now maybe I can say it's not too much of a spoiler. The Titans are coming into it, and kind of Dick Grayson is like the big. They're giving him a lot more control or power, kind of. The JLA are like, okay, yeah, we're gonna let you handle shit now. So,
which is pretty good.
Yeah, a new issue just came out this week actually, and yeah, the Titans. Like I never really got along with Teen Titans. It wasn't my jam, but now they're grown up. And he's meeting them, and you're like, you can already see their friendship and their like relationships to each other. And then they find a body is under the rubble of this, I don't know, Titan's Tower or something. Huh? And all of them are so concerned that it's somebody they know or one of their students. And most of the issue is them going to try and rescue that person. And you get to see these really powerful characters. All of them are like panicking about one person, and they all go and try to save that person. And it's not like. Often in comics, it's a big catastrophe that's going to kill millions of people or whatever. This was like really shrunk down. They're doing all of this and making all this effort and worrying so much about one person. Tom Taylor's amazing at doing that, making you feel like these are good characters and good people.
So a new guy comes into the fray, and Neo Kikoa, He's the chief of the Metropolis Police Special Crimes Unit. Actually, I don't even know who this character is, but a new guy shows up, and he's the head of everything. He's the chief, and he finally meets Superman for the first time. Things go well, and so
they're getting on all right so far.
They're getting it on. And Superman leaves. Eventually, after leaving, he goes back to work. And we see Superman, this big burly man with headphones on and a hat, and he is just going away at the keyboard because he's actually trying to finish a report that he has to do for the paper.
That was interesting for me because, like I told you, I read mostly just the Warworld stuff, so I was completely unaware that he even still worked at the paper. So to see him sitting there on his computer was really funny.
Yeah, and it's just this. It's kind of it reminds me of Mr. Incredible from The Incredibles, basically sitting up there. He's at his office job because he's not a superhero anymore. And he's just
yeah, you seen that?
He's trying. So
Ninja Turtles movie, I think they have to try and disarm a bomb with a keyboard, but their fingers are too fat, so they're
Yeah, when your fingers are this big, you're gonna have trouble, of course. And of course, the usual suspects show up. We have Jimmy Olsen, who is a photographer for the Daily Bugle, and then I said the Daily Bugle. I'm sorry, the Daily Planet. I'm sorry, I got my Spider-Man and my Superman mixed up. But then the biggest reveal of all happens, and then we have the great Lois Lane is now the head of the Daily Planet, which actually makes it so amazing because I've been waiting for her to actually get into this role for a very long time. She's interviewed criminals, intergalactic beings. She's been in the midst of in the midst of everything, in the mix of all this, right? And she's finally the head of the Daily Planet. And I'm that's a really good move for her because, Lois is always, her feet are always on the ground and she's always running towards the danger and always running towards the action. And to see that she's oh man, I have to actually stay put for once. I don't like this. And her and Supes are actually, they're still married or together, of course.
Yeah,
but
there's a part of that where Superman needs to kind of take a minute, and he's a bit stressed, and he's using his headphones to block out the voice that he was hearing earlier on. Actually, at the beginning of the book too, there's a scene of him when he was younger, growing up on the farm, listening to music really loud. So there's a little thread that I really liked in this book, which is Superman likes music, which I would never have really thought about that kind of thing before. Makes him a little bit more human, and I love my music, so it was cool to see Superman's into it too.
Yeah, because they've never, in all the comic book the comic books that I've read of Superman, they never mentioned anything in his childhood or they never mentioned any of that in the past. So this is actually really good. This is something to add more to the pot and be hey, he may be a god to some people, but he's also still human because he likes music and stuff like that.
It's really cute. But so he goes out to the rooftop with his headphones to take a minute, and then Lois comes out and they have a kiss. And right after the kiss, one of the guys from the office runs out, and Lois is whoa! She's trying to back away from Superman. So I don't know who knows that they're together.
Right, that's true.
And also that he's in the box now. So that's
right. I also think that she was just trying to be professional. That could be possible. Or because Jimmy, I think if I'm not mistaken, in this iteration of Superman, Smallville, I think they know that. Well, I think Jimmy knows that Clark is Superman. I think, and if he doesn't, that's okay. That's fine. But in the past, he has found out that he did know. Well, Jimmy does say sorry, and
so it was weird. I wasn't really sure.
So yeah.
Does he know? Does he not know? Well, that's two things. Does he know who Clark Kent really is, and then does he know?
Yeah, that's true.
That person is dating Lois.
Right.
Or they say they're married.
Yeah, well, they've been married for a while. Yeah,
Supes doesn't.
Lois and Superman have been married for a while, but I don't know if since this is a new start, I don't know if he knows now, or if they just he doesn't know. Oh, okay, fair enough. So yeah, and something happens, and then of course the Great Caesar's ghost. I love that old line. It's such a great line. It's so funny though. It's so good because
is there a reference?
No, like it comes like it's a old thing that people like used to say back in the day for like
Yeah.
certain comics or whatever. So that was it. Like
It felt really weird to me actually, but maybe it's a reference or like a throwback or something.
right, things get crazy. LexCorp is quote unquote under attack, and then eventually Superman gets there. He finds out that they're not actually under attack, but that this building has a big S on it now.
Yeah,
So
some little nanobots flew around it and they built a big, giant Superman symbol on the top.
S for sucker. He is met by Mercy. Mercy is this woman who serves and works with Lex Luthor. In many different iterations, Mercy has died, Lex has killed her, and all types of other things. She's very loyal to him to the very end. She is very dangerous in all sense of the word. He has like she knows different types of martial arts. She's like if there's like Lex Luthor, then there's Mercy because he trusts her the most. So yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that character before now.
Yeah, and so eventually, him and Mercy have a talk, and as they're walking through the room, which is really really cool, the nanobots are changing the room as he walks through it, which is really cool. And I'm like, oh, that's actually pretty dope.
So she tells him, now that Lex is in prison,
right,
all his company, all of his assets belong to Superman.
Which is crazy because it's like, not only is like what makes it so crazy for me is that like Superman is now one of the richest men on the planet.
Right.
So he makes it into this lab. Him and Mercy are still talking, but then he sits up here. He declines the offer at first, and so he's like, "Yeah, no thanks.
Well,
I don't want to." Yeah,
he does that, but maybe it's before that, maybe it's after. But Lex does something that makes him so angry, and I've never seen Superman angry before.
Well, yeah, because
just
like
a little panel of his eyes, and he's so upset.
Yeah, and it takes a lot to really piss off the Man of Steel. But but the thing is though is that scene is captured so well. Like it's like in this little box.
Yeah, it's just a little tiny box.
And it's just you see his eyes and you see like that tension and that anger. And you can see like he was just not happy about it.
Yeah, like and it's just a small panel, but it really was impactful.
It worked.
Oh.
Yeah, it works. It works really well, and I'm like, whoa, like he is pissed. And so he goes, and with all that anger running through him, he's like, I think he's about to go pay Lex a visit, and he goes and he leaves. But as he's leaving, of course, trouble strikes, and so Parasite shows up and tries to eat the children on the school bus.
Oh wait, you know this character?
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, Parasite. Okay. Yeah. Parasite is he was a regular person. He eventually got tested on, and he had the power. He can whenever he touches you, he can steal your power. Something's a little different with Parasite this time, and it starts to like make Superman kind of worry. And he's like, how did you get out of Star Labs? Like, why are you here? Why did Lex Luthor do this? And Parasite says it wasn't Lex, and he's like, uh-oh. And so now we know that there's another player in the game, and things are about to get really interesting. And the reason why I say this is because Lex isn't pulling the strings anymore. That's why I think this is what makes this whole issue really interesting when it comes to this part, is that he's always the bad guy. And like he always has his hand in the pie. He's always doing something. But this time he's like, no, like my enemies are coming for you. We don't know what's next. But in the final panel, we see somebody on the table, and we kind of know what's about to happen. Hopefully, in the next issue, what's about to happen. There's going to be a square off of two old enemies. So hopefully, it's a really good one. So
in that last page, because he said the characters that are there are new. You don't know who those characters are.
Yeah, I don't know who these two characters are.
So for new readers like me, that's fine. We don't know who this character is, and for people like you, it's something new and interesting because new character.
Yeah.
Who I can't tell if they have scalpels in their hands or scalpels for hands. I couldn't see.
So they have scalpels. He has a scalpel in his hand, and he's basically like
Coming out of his hand.
he's holding it like, so he has a scalpel in one hand, and he's like opening in like his skin with another. So yeah.
But yeah, that final page, if you pay really close attention, there's something that Dan spotted that I completely missed.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you look really close, there's an important detail there.
Like, so far, I do think there are interesting tidbits in there. It's a good book, but there are interesting tidbits that make it an actual good book. I'm hoping that these new villains are good, because we've been through the laundromat of villains before. Like, he's fought Darkseid, he's fought Lex Luthor, he's fought Livewire, he's fought all these people before, but things are changing now, which is a really good thing to happen, because we've seen Superman die, we've seen him go into space and leave, we've seen him do all these amazing things, and now he's home. And so now I'm like, okay, well, if this is a new 52 and he's home and he of course has his family and everything like that, like, what makes it so different? Like, what's making it different? And so the last panel gives you what's going to make it different.
Yeah, like you said, we'll see what happens from here, I guess. We don't know who these people are that are coming, but they look dangerous. So yeah, I guess that wraps up this one, but we'll be back next time for the next Dawn of DC #1.
Guys, that is it for this one. You can catch us on our respected channels, and you can also check us out on our Twitters if you like. We do love talking about comics, and if you just want to like catch up on the latest things, since we're in the new year, and so they're starting with the first DC #1, and hopefully like some Marvel stuff drops that's like starting with the #1 as well. You can catch it here, and we want to thank you so much for your time, and you have a good one.
Until next time. Love you, bye.
Gotta mess it up.
No,